thing with trading and that you have to understand is this shit is all mindset. It is all psychology, right? The statistic, and I'm sure we've all heard it, 98% of people lose day trading or they lose money trading within their first year. That is true. You know what I mean? And that is a very real statistic, and that turns a lot of people away from this, a lot of normal people away from this. It turns, that's why a lot of your guys' parents and why my parents didn't believe in this in the beginning, you know what I mean? And it wasn't until that I actually was making money and seeing results from it that it started to make sense to them. And I'm even teaching them about it now, you know what I mean? And so it's a really cool feeling to be in that position now, but it wasn't always like this. And, I had a lot of sleepless nights and a lot of bad nights, and I still have a lot of sleepless nights. I mean, this is the hardest thing that I've ever done, but I've come out on the other side of from I've come a long way since where we all start, you know what I mean? And I've learned a lot of lessons. And the biggest thing that I've learned is if you want to become the kind of person that is profitable, if you want to become the kind of person that makes money from trading, it's all psychology. You actually have to become that person. And that starts with your mind. You know what I mean? And a lot of the different things that people struggle with, the big ones, FOMO, greed, revenge trading, sizing up after a loss to make back your loss. It all points back to an area in your life that you are struggling, or that maybe you're not the strongest in that area of your life. And the reason that you're making these mistakes on the charts is because that area of your life you are lacking. And the charts, it's like a mirror, right? When you the same mistake, because no one really, I've never met someone that struggles like with, maybe you semi struggle with all of them in the beginning, but there's usually, everyone has like really like one that they like, that's like their main problem. You know what I mean? Like for me, it was revenge trading. And so I'll kind of get into that and my experiences with that. But that points to a certain area of my life. So let's kind of talk about revenge trading, because I can relate with that one the most, right? The reason that and I'm just going off of personal experience, the reason that I revenge trade and why I've still done it, you know what I mean? And sometimes like I'll do it now, and it's less emotional now, because maybe I take a loss and it's like, damn, like that just was not a good trade. Here's a clean setup. That's completely different than, back in the day where I'm taking a loss and, let's say I wanted a long and it goes down and stops me out. And it's like, well, damn, now it has to go short. No, like that's not how it works. You know what I mean? So that's two completely different things. But my problem with revenge trading was I felt like I was falling behind in my life. I felt like I had to keep my foot on the pedal 1000% of the time. And if I was not waking up every single day and making some sort of progress to the goals and the dreams that I have, then I failed for the day. Or I could have done more today. I could have worked harder. I could have, whatever that looks like, and I'm just that kind of person. I'm super ambitious. I've always been like that. Back in my hometown in Texas, I ran a detailing business. I did $100,000 in 2 years, had two employees, and built from 17 to 19, built a 100-figure or a six-figure business. You know what I mean? And so that business was built on working harder, waking up every day, grinding out there. I did, 12-hour days in the 100-degree Texas weather. Like that shit sucked, but it's what built that business eventually to the point where I had employees and they were doing the grunt work and I was running from the computer. So it's like that's how I was wired. And then all of a sudden I start trading, and as I got deeper and deeper into it over the months, I realized that trading is the one thing that does not require you to work harder. It's actually the thing that requires you to spend, after you learn everything, you watch the videos, you paper trade, you do everything that you need to do, like you start to understand that there's only so much information out there. And it's just like with anything. If you're going to go out there and constantly search for the information, you're going to find it if you're looking for it. There's always, yeah, like technically there's always something new you could learn, but that doesn't mean you need to learn anymore. And this is the complete opposite in life. In life, the way I look at my life, like I always want to learn something. I'm always down to learn something new. But with trading, as it finally clicked for me, and I started to see more consistency when I realized that I already have all the knowledge I need. I have a strategy that works. I've proven I can get paid from it. That's all I need, right? I don't need to watch any more YouTube videos. I don't need to learn about this new strategy. I don't need to learn about this new confluence. I actually need to get off of the charts and go live my life. And one of the biggest things that I had to overcome was understanding that I was going to have no trade days. And that was really hard for me in the beginning, because I hated feeling like I was not making any progress. So if there wouldn't be any good opportunities and I wasn't seeing my setup that I liked, I wasn't super confident, all of a sudden my mind would start going crazy and I just get it's hard to describe it like I feel I get this feeling, you get kind of hot, you get kind of anxious, like I sit up in my chair and I'm like dialed in, like super focused, and it's like all of a sudden my brain it just makes up a setup. It just like I start seeing stuff that isn't really there. I start convincing myself that this is a good setup, and it's all emotional, right? And then you take that trade, and it really was a bad trade because you're taking a fucking trade in a range day. You know what I mean? Like it's just stupid. And so like I was failing to understand that there are bad days to trade, and I was failing to understand that a no trade day is actually progress because to be profitable, all you have to do is not lose money. If you have a 51% win rate, you make money trading. It's that simple. You know what I mean? So even now if you like for me, I've never gone below these past 6 months of trading, I haven't dropped below a 70% win rate. You know what I mean? So it's like if you even if you all you need is a 51% win rate, you know? So it's like understanding that you're like you just have to understand you're going to have or I had to understand that you're gonna have no, I'm gonna have no trade days. There's gonna be days where yeah, maybe I didn't take a trade. Maybe I didn't take a trade in 2 days in a row. Maybe I haven't made any money. But and we're so blessed to have prop firms because on 30 accounts, I mean just think about how crazy this is. On 30 accounts, all you need to do is take 5 trades a month. You need 4 wins of $500 and 1 day of $150 for that last winning day, and you can pull out $1,000 across all 30 of your accounts and take 27K to the bank after paying them their 10%. That's ridiculous to think about. So when I finally started realizing that, and like today, for example, I slept in because I kind of heard my alarm at like 5. I'm in California, so the market opens at like 6:30, and I heard my alarm around like 5:30, 5:40, and like I don't know what happened. Like I was up, but like must have like dozed off, and then all of a sudden I woke up at like 7. And I could have hopped on. I could, I was super rushed and panicked when I woke up, and I could have hopped on the chart and probably made a bad decision. But it was like, nah, I noticed the state that I was in. I was like, fuck it, like I'm tired. I'm gonna go back to bed. It's okay to have a no trade day. So that's really the biggest thing that I struggled with. I can't really speak too much on FOMO and greed just because I've never really struggled with that, but that's kind of my own experience with revenge trading. That has been my biggest problem, and I still struggle with it sometimes. I'm not gonna lie, like on evals, So it is what it is. Everyone's got their thing, but I encourage you to look deeper into that issue and actually find the area in your life that the chart is telling you to look at. Because I promise you, bro, it's a mirror. If you, for me, it was revenge trading, and the chart was telling me to look at the area of my life that was causing that, and that was me feeling like the way that I was wired was to work harder every day, and that was actually hurting my trading. So I encourage you to look at your life as a mirror and let the charts tell you what area of your life you need to work on.